Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's September 19th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this is going to wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Friday, so this will be the last one this week. We'll be back again to do it Monday, but no chart lesson tomorrow. Um, Interesting day today. It looked like it was going to be a really strong trend. We had this big spike up, and we kind of rolled over here. Really and truly, you could look at this as one steep trend up with a break, and you had enough legs here that it looks like more than two legs up. So um, a lot of times what will happen, this is really too steep. A good healthy trend will go at a 45-degree angle, basically from the left corner of your screen to the right. Very similar to this. This is too steep to, it's just not a healthy trend, and it won't last long because prices will get way overbought. Same thing if it was coming down, they'd get way oversold. So this is more of a healthy trend, and so this you'll see this a lot. The prices cannot continue this trend after the regular open occurs, and they'll kind of lay over. And sometimes you might see it flatten out a little, and then even get a third channel. In this case, we don't get this. We just get this flatter channel. We get a break here, a new high. There's actually a couple of swings up there to a new high, so a couple of legs up, and then we trended down the rest of the day. Notice what's really interesting is notice that we closed. Um, this is where we closed yesterday, this brown line, and we basically closed unchanged today. Hardly any change there at all. Maybe down a tick or two, not much. So interesting day. Uh, so basically we had a trend up and a trend down. Just the opposite of yesterday, because yesterday we had a trend down and then a really strong trend up. So we just kind of continued that today. And if you back out here, it looks like there's probably two measured legs up. Notice this big leg up yesterday. Normally we don't look back at the other chart, but I just thought I would show you this just to show you how this kind of works. There's leg one, and there's your measured move up, and we sold off. So you could have used that to say, hey, let's see if we get a measured leg up. And when we started turning down there, so it's no surprise we did turn down there because it's two measured legs up. And I can show you how that works over and over and over. There's not a lot of trades today, unfortunately. There just weren't a lot of safe entries in here. Maybe your chart looked better than mine, but my chart just didn't. My signal bars were a little rough at times, and so there's not a lot of trades today. I had a few on the way down, but not nearly as many. And this is kind of similar on the way down. Notice how steep it is right there, and it looks like it kind of flattened out a little as the day went along. Let's just see how this fits on the bottom down here. Yeah, and you can see this channel was a little steep, and so this is a more natural one. You can see your midline right in there. And so we actually just flattened out into that flatter. Prices just kind of flattened out a little bit in a less steep channel coming down. Too steep here, so it flattens out. Too steep here, so it flattens out. So hope that makes sense. Um, this one didn't help you so much. The bigger one here, you didn't really need it. Um, but again, not a lot of trades today, just simply because on the way up there weren't many pullbacks until we got into this flatter channel, and I didn't get any good signal bars. So if your chart looks a little different, and I continue to get that, we have a lot of new people coming in, and people always get worked up over their chart not looking like mine. So let me explain that real quick before I go over the trades to wrap this week up, just for the new people. Tick charts are not static like time-based charts. No two tick charts look exactly the same. They just don't, because of I'm not going to go into all the details, but the way a tick chart works is not the same as a time-based chart. These are not time-based charts. These are tick charts. This is actually a 2,000 tick chart. You can see it right there. Basically what happens is every time 2,000 ticks pass off, a new bar starts. So each one of these bars consists of 2,000 ticks. And that's what we're trading. And because of the way the bars start and end, and you can't make a tick chart, you can't make them all look exactly the same like a time-based chart, because every time-based bar starts at the same time and ends at the same time. But we aren't working on time, we're working on ticks, the number of ticks that tick off. And so you would have to, the only way we could, the easiest way to get them to look relatively close would be if everybody had the same data provider, everybody opened their chart at the exact same moment each morning, then they would probably be real close. But we can't do that. So your tick charts are all going to look slightly different, but it doesn't matter. And people get so worked up over it, and they want their chart to look exactly like mine. I understand why, because you think that your chart needs to look like mine in order to take the same trades and so forth. But really, as long as your chart has the similar number of bars and the patterns look the same, you're going to be okay. I could take your chart, if as long as it has a similar number of bars and similar number or the same type patterns, I could take your chart and trade it and do just the same thing I can do on this chart. Some trades may look better on my chart than yours, and some trades may look better on your chart than mine, but for the most part, they'll all look relatively similar. And so don't get worked up if your tick chart doesn't look like mine, because it's impossible to make it look like mine. It does not happen. It's just not the way it works. So don't worry if your chart does not look exactly like mine. And one other thing I want to say before I move on to the trades and wrap this day and this week up is that the reason most people fail at trading is there's actually several reasons. One of the main ones is people come into this with unrealistic expectations, and they think they can read a manual or two and apply what they've already learned somewhere else in trading, and in a few weeks they think they're going to be profitable. Wrong. That's not going to happen. This takes a long time to learn, and it's because you need the experience. You need a lot of experience of watching chart prices print to a chart before you start to understand and get a feel for what prices are doing. But the big thing, the point I wanted to make today was don't try to take what you've learned previously and apply it to what we're doing. I don't care how good you think it is or how well you think it might work. We've got this down to a science. It works. But if you come in here and start tweaking it and adding your little pieces to it, most of the time you're just going to fail, because we've already tried all that stuff. So, be real careful about trying to tweak something or add your little touch to it or add something you learned somewhere else. It's not to say that there's, you couldn't tweak it a little bit to your personality, but for the most part, wait till you've learned it and you get it to work the way it is before you start trying to change anything. And even then, it's just going to be something minor. Maybe some little minor tool that you want to use or whatever. But we have this down to a science. You don't need multiple charts. All that will do is confuse you. You need one chart, 2,000 tick, or whatever it takes your chart to get real close to looking like mine. That's the chart you want to use, and that's all you want to use. You don't want to be putting a lot of indicators on here. You don't want to be adding this or adding that, or just stay away from that stuff, because all it's going to do is mess you up. I promise you. Take my word on it. I've been doing this a long, long time, and I know what happens. I did it myself. Most people come in, they've decided, hey, I want to be a trader, and they go out, or they see some interesting book, and they say, hey, I think I could do that. They buy the book, they read it, they start trading, they put money in an account, and they think they're going to be able to trade, and all they are donators. If you followed me anytime, you know what I mean by a donator. You do not want to be a donator. You need donators to make it in this business because it's a zero-sum game, but you don't want to be the donator. You want to be the guy that collects from all the donators. But unfortunately, you have to have donators in this business to keep it rolling. That's just a fact of life. But most traders that come in or into this business are just that. They're donators. They never take the time to learn it. They have unrealistic expectations. They think they can read a book or two, and they read that first book and they start trading. They get the trading bug and they lose real quick, and they say, well, this don't work. Well, let me go find something that really does work. And they go and they read and they search and they find something else, and somebody makes some promises about making all this money, make $1,000 a day in 15 minutes, and they said, that sounds like me, and they ordered that program, and it don't, and they never make the first day of it. They can't even get one winning trade with it. And maybe the claim is true. Maybe somebody that knows how to work that strategy could actually make $1,000 in 15 minutes every day, but you can't because you won't. You'd have to do it for years before you could figure it out, and you're not going to do that. You're going to give up and quit before then. You're going to go broke because you're going to try to do it live before then. You're going to go broke. That's what happens to people. And they just jump from one system to the next because they don't make any money, but they never stay with any system long enough to actually get experience in trading and experience with watching the charts print and experience with trading. And that's where most people fail. And the other thing they do is they want to start changing everything. They read this in some forum or they read this in some book, and I'm just telling you, there's nobody hanging out in any trading forum that knows how to trade, that knows anything of any value. Trust me. If they know how to trade and they know anything of value, they're busy trading. They're not hanging out in a forum. And if they did go post what really works there, they'll get persecuted by the people that hang out there that think they know what trading is all about because it's the buzzwords that everybody's learned that you read in every book and every trading system, and that stuff's all hogwash. Take my word on it. It doesn't work, and it's not going to work. And there's people that are trying to tell you how to work it, don't know what they're talking about. They're wannabe traders, or they're failed traders, or something else. Because trust me, if somebody knows how to trade and make money, they're not hanging out in the forum trying to teach people. It doesn't happen. So sorry to get on that rant, but we were kind of down that path already, so I thought I would go down it a little bit further. But stay away from that stuff and don't listen to any of that stuff you learn from any of those places. You know, even if you don't like my stuff and you're not interested in my stuff, take my word on it, you're not going to find it in a forum. It's not because it's not there and never will be there. If somebody tries to put it there, it will be removed. People don't like people telling the real truth about trading either. The most of the people that know these secrets and know what really works and understands what it really takes won't tell you because they don't want the competition. They want a donator out there. They want donators. Not to say that there aren't some people that would probably share it with you, but you're never going to run into them because they're not going to be at a forum. They're not going to be on the internet. They're not going to be in a trading room. Those people are full of people that can't trade. That's all that's there. And they're there because they're trying to learn, and they're learning from the wrong people, and they're learning the wrong things. So, and that's not to pat myself on the back or say what I'm trying to teach you here is the be all end all, because it's probably not. But I'm just telling you the truth. I'm telling you like it is. You can like my stuff or don't like it, but just take my word on the other stuff. Don't waste your time with it. You don't have to even stay here, but don't go to forums and trading rooms and all those places and think and especially when you got to pay thousands of dollars because you're just going to donate your trading money plus some of your money you could have used for trading capital to somebody and you're not going to learn a thing most likely. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, didn't mean to get off on that rant, but um, we get people that come in here and they say, well, what about so and so, so and so? I don't care about that strategy. You know, I'm not teaching that strategy. I'm not interested in that strategy. That strategy doesn't work. If it did, you'd already be making money with it. You wouldn't have to ask me about it. So and again, I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm trying to pass on positive information to you. So, but let's talk about the trades. There's not a lot of them today. Most of the trades were later in the day from about 10 o'clock on. There's several setups in here, and you might have had a better setup here than I do. And if you did, these are okay. I've marked them green. This is your key entry point all the way up through here. If you had some good setups there, by all means, you should have taken them, but they didn't set up very well on my trade. But the good thing is if you caught the very first trade of the day, you didn't need anything but that. This one trade could have made you several $1,000s today. One trade. Depending on how many contracts you trade and whether or not you caught the runner. But there's a little, notice that you made a new low here. There's a two-tiered channel working up here. We really didn't get it confirmed until right here for sure. But it didn't matter. We already had one leg up and a correction, so you would figure you would probably at least get a measured leg here. If you measure that leg and you're looking for a measured leg, well, then you're looking for prices. And you can see we once we got here, we kind of went sideways. That's probably all the people that saw the measured move exiting and taking their profits, and it went a little higher, and then it flattened out after that. But that was the target most of your smart traders were expecting to reach. So there's actually a great entry right here as well, but this was just barely after 6 o'clock. But this trade came right at 7 o'clock. It's a little breakout pullback. There's a new low here. So this is a higher low. It's right off the key entry point. It's right off this short-term trend line. It's a breakout pullback because it broke above here and pulled back. This is a nice little setup right here. A nice bullish signal bar. It broke lower, runs up here and closes almost on its high. Just put a buy stop right there. You're right into the high of the day, but on that breakout pullback, with the fact that we had this one leg up, you're probably going to at least make a new high here, and you're probably going to try to shoot for a measured leg. That's worth the effort. And you can see that one trade, if you just followed it up till one bar broke below the other, you would have exited right there. Even if you'd have waited on your first bar to close outside and put your stop there, you still get out at exactly the same identical place. So that you could get almost every bit of that move, and you're done by the time the market regular open comes. I mean, that's my kind of trading right there. I don't know about y'all, but that's my kind of trading. But anyway, that was the beauty of not having a lot of trades today. You didn't need but one. You didn't need but that one. That was a great move there. So, but anyway, we start kind of going sideways. We push up a few times. There's just nothing here. You want to wait for prices. I mean, if you got a real good setup off the midline, you might take it. Notice right here, there's a new low right there. So first entry short, second entry short. And this one is off the midline. There's not a lot of room here. So this one is another one. I didn't mark it, but you could argue for that to be green. Really, you want these setups to be back here at near the EMA and the main trend line. And when those are running congruently like that, that's when they're even better. So that's what you want to see. But the midline is still a key entry point, and with that being a failed second entry short and this thing being a strong trend, you might take that. We've already had a measured move, so I'm just not that crazy about it. But it's very small bar. It's only like 3 ticks in that maybe. So it's very low risk. I mean, even if you're wrong, you're going to lose 4 or 5 ticks. And and this thing might take off for another leg up like this. So, and if you did measure that leg from yesterday, the measured move's still way up here. So it's a possibility. But notice it doesn't go far and it comes back, and we actually get a close outside that trend line. You're just waiting on a second entry here, which comes right here. But actually, this bar here is really probably going to be your signal bar. And this one's got a little higher low, and this one's got a matching low. So because there's a matching low, you can really treat that like this is all one low here. And this is a second entry when it broke above this bar right here. So you may take that trade. And if your signal bar, or if this set up a little different and you had a nice signal bar here and it did make the low, you could probably argue for that to be blue, because that's a second entry long when it broke higher right there. It is off what looks like to be a new key entry point, and the only problem is you really didn't get it confirmed till here. There are two little, it did touch it and then go higher and then come back again. So you might say, hey, well, that confirmed it, but I'd want to see a little more confirmation like this right here. But then my signal bar is not very good, so we'll wait a minute. But anyway, you got a low right here, then a first entry, and then a second entry. And this is a nice bullish bar. Only problem with this, when I marked it green, it's a failed second entry short. We just came off what looks like the key entry point. We do have a break of the main channel, so we're probably going to try to make a new high on that as well. So again, you might enter that one. It's kind of like the other one we talked about over here. It's not perfect. We're not back to the EMA or the trend line. If it pulled back here and bounced, I'd say take that all day long, but it really made a double top right there. It's hard to see because I don't have a line across there, but let me just put it across there for you. And you can see when that closed, it formed a double top right there with that. And that's a little dangerous. You might want to wait. It looks like that looks almost like a repeat pattern um, from somewhere I saw. Was it right here? Oh, it's actually this one down here. It's similar to this pattern down here, but you know, you got a lot of resistance right there, plus the next one's only right there. You just don't have much room, and you see what happens. It comes back, and now it confirms the trend line. And the only problem with this one, this bar is a tick lower, and they both bounce off the key entry point, the EMA, and the trend line. Um, so this is not a very good signal bar, but this one is so bullish. And the other thing is there's a gap there, so I doubt you could get in that trade. It probably took off without you. And notice there's gaps again right there. It just kind of shot up real fast. So you probably wouldn't have had time to get in it unless you got in it using this as your signal bar. And maybe your bar looks better there. If it did, then hopefully you got a good entry. There's another failed second entry short right here, but look at all that resistance. And we're real close to the high. I don't think you want to risk that. It would have worked, but especially when the next bar made a matching high and didn't break above it. It's not a perfect signal bar. It's mostly bullish, but it's still not a very good signal bar. It's mostly congestive. Somebody asked me about this trade too. At the very best, you might make it an aggressive trade, but I don't even think I'd take that aggressive. Um, so it would have worked, but then notice how it sells off real quickly, and you get your first break of this trend line. Again, I don't have a very good signal bar down here, but you make a higher low here. It actually broke lower and turned and went out the other side. I like waiting on this to close and then going long, but you could have went long one tick above that little bitty bar right there. Um, that's a possibility. Either way you entered that, that's a nice little trade there. And you actually get the failed second entry short here. And this one pulls back to the key entry point of the EMA and the trend line together, plus a shorter term trend line. So you got confluence of all three of those acting as support, and it did push through the resistance right here and pull back. So it's like a little breakout pullback as well. I like that one too. It's a nice bullish bar, and prices run up here and make a new high. So now you got your close outside of this channel, runs up to a new high, and that's the end of the trend. Now we're trending in the other direction. There's no doubt here this thing starts trending the other way. Somebody asked me one day, how do you know when it's reversed? When you got a clear trend line like this working the other way, and notice there's not really any shorts until then. I wouldn't have had a problem on this lower high here going short, looking for at least a measured move like that right there. But you don't get a setup on mine. You got a little trend line working up. And that's just too bullish. Not a good signal bar. You wait on the lower high and it never comes. Your lower high doesn't come till here, but now you got a trend line working up and you're not back to the trend line yet. And if you went short there, you get burned. So wait on this close outside. See if you don't break a new high, and look what happens. It confirms that trend line and gives you a big bearish bar. That's where you go short. Too bad on this lower high. If you had a good signal bar here, I'd say trade that one too, but you can't trade it on mine because it's not a very good bar, and then you get an inside bar, and it's not a very good signal bar either. You just can't take that trade. So the lower high was no good here. But this one being off that key entry point and being so bearish and a second entry short, notice that low, you're moving up first entry. Moving up second entry, and now you got to close outside the new high on this short-term trend line. That's a perfect setup. So I like that one a lot. Notice what happens here. The ES is so efficient. It came right back though, took the break-even stop, so you couldn't get a runner, and then the bottom fell out of it again. Unfortunately, it works like that sometimes. There's nothing you can do about it. Failed second entry long right here, but it doesn't break lower till here. And I don't really think you want to take that one. You wouldn't have had this midline in here. You'd still be playing this steeper channel, and you're not back to you didn't even get back to the EMA, much less the trend line. The fact that you came up short down here May mean that we got a lot more down movement to go to get there first, but that could also mean you're going to get a break on the other side, and that's exactly what happens. We came up short, so then we get an overshoot, and it's really not the end of the trend. We just went into a flatter trend because this one's a little too steep. But notice the repeat pattern here. It's almost the same as this. You're moving up, you get to close outside, move to a new high. Look at that big bearish bar. Just go short right there. It's a repeat pattern. Makes it a lot more, when you see those repeat patterns, they're more likely to play out. You know, if it played out one way the first time, it'll probably play out the same way again. That's exactly what happened. And notice we run down. You start getting resistance here. You test this quite a few times, but there's at least a double test right here, but that bar's too neutral. But when it tests it again and it breaks a little bit higher, like one tick higher, and turns and closes on it slow, just put your sell stop right there. That's a quick, easy move. This is right into the 2 o'clock hour, but it's like right there, so it's, you know, I'm okay with that trade. It's like 205 or something like that. And you don't get a lot of movement out of this one, but you get a quick, easy. I mean, it's a little trading range, and you know, just to show you that they always tend to work the same way. That would have been your trading range. Normally, you'd be leery about even going short there, but we're in a big downtrend, so you know, you're looking for failures out the top to try to get in because it may get a nice move. So you can see what that looks like right there. Oops, one bar, two. I just can't get it to stop at that bar. There we go. That's what it would have looked like on the far right hand corner of your trade, of your chart. So just go short right there. And you would have got a scalp, and then but notice what happens. It acts just like a range. It fails out the side, the bottom side, comes back, fails out the top side, and then takes on off. But just always remember that if prices are trending and you trade down into a range, the best trade is probably going to be a failure out the counter trend side, which would be to the upside here, and trying to get in with the trend. And a lot of times those failed breakouts will be important highs, and you can see this one was. You didn't get a runner, but it still was the high at that time of day that turned out to be, and we never got above that again. It's all downhill from there. So even on little small ranges, those breakouts turn out to be important highs and lows, and so keep that in mind. But yeah, not a great trading day, but it was still a pretty good one. To have trended so hard, there just weren't a lot of, you know, maybe it's just my chart. Maybe some of you had some better setups in here. Of course, you may not have needed them if you caught this early one, because that was all you needed for the day. And even if you didn't, there were several here in the afternoon. So, but yeah, when you're trending up this strongly, you're not going to take any shorts. And when you're trending down this strongly, you're not going to take any buys. You're only looking to go, you can only go both ways. I mean, up here, you're kind of flat. Notice we're above, below, above, below, above. But the problem is you've been so strongly up, and you know, you're just letting the trend play out here before it reverses. So anyway, I think that's enough for today. Hopefully you learned something this week. Hopefully you had a good trading day. The key is that you get a little better every day. You learn something new every day. And more than anything, the key to all of this is not just coming in here and trading every day and then at the end of the day closing up your charts and going home. That's when the real work starts. The way you get better is you come in and you trade as much as you can, and then at the end of the day, even if you have to go to work and come back later that night, you come back, you open up your chart, and you study all your trades. You study the chart itself. You try to figure out what you did right or wrong, see what you missed, compare it to my chart, see if you were seeing the right things, and you learn your tendencies by studying your own trades, and you correct them, and you learn to understand price action by studying that chart. And in the beginning, you may only see it after the fact, but you'd be surprised. Most people could not look at this chart and tell you anything I just told you about it. Even though they see it going up and they see it going down, they still couldn't tell you anything about this chart that I just told you, because they don't understand how. They're not experienced enough. So eventually you'll start to see it after the fact. And then lo and behold, as you're trading in real time, you'll start to see a little setup here and there, and you'll start to recognize some of this stuff. Maybe only occasionally in the beginning, but the more you study and the more you learn, and then you start to see a little more, and then you start to really understand what's going on, and you mistrade still, or you let your the old trading demon that sits on everybody's shoulder. He sits there and he says, take this long way up here, this bad long, for some whatever reason, take this long, and you take it and it turns straight down. Or you got a perfect setup like this right here, almost, and that little trading demon says, no, you don't want to take that. You'll lose. Don't take that trade. You'll lose. I mean, your mind will talk you into the worst trades and out of the best trades every time. Don't ask me why. It's just part of trading. Um, I call it that little trading demon. He's that little voice in the back of your head that's just trying to trip you up. You got to learn to ignore him and be patient and follow the rules. And if you can do that, and not everybody can, and not everybody's going to learn to be a trader because not everybody has the discipline, and mostly because people are not going to put into it what it takes. It's just like being a doctor. A lot of people are not going to stick out and tough it out to be a doctor because of all the schooling and the sacrifices and the hard work, and they're probably not even smart enough. I'm not smart enough to be a doctor. I would have never made it as a doctor because I wasn't smart enough. I would have probably had the patience and the diligence and the work ethic that I could have stuck out the 8 years of school, plus residency and all that, but I wouldn't have the smarts for that. Unfortunately, I'm not that smart. So anyway, I've talked enough. We're done for this week. We'll be back again Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.